Welcome back. I'm Tim Stewart. With me is Frank Costa from Sandalwood Engineering and Ergonomics. We're here today to kind of complete our discussion from a couple of weeks ago, where we were discussing modernizing legacy applications. Uh, Stuff in Access or Excel or other older systems that are disconnected from everything, and utilizing a modern infrastructure like Ignition from Inductive Automation to do that. We went through a good amount of detail last time, and today we're going to continue that discussion with some actual use case presentation from Frank on real world work that they've done for a customer. So Frank, turn it over to you.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, and as you mentioned, in continuation for what we did, I just want to go through a use case that we went through for a pharmaceutical company.
Mm-hmm.
So, a major pharmaceutical manufacturer faced some significant challenge with their legacy scheduling system that was built using outdated tools that included Excel.
Right.
This tool was used to schedule various sterilization machines located on their fill lines, and their use was based on multiple dimensions, which included available stock and customer orders. So the system was inefficient, prone to errors, and lacked the ability to actually provide real-time insights. Um, So I'll just go over some of what those key issues were. So it was
Okay.
a manual scheduling process that was time consuming and error prone. Um, had a relatively small scheduling window due to the computing limitations, not just of the workstation it was running on, but Excel itself. Uh, it lacked any real-time updates, which again led to inefficiencies in production planning and compliance tracking. Uh, its scalability was very limited, and it was difficult to adapt the software to production demands, including increasing volumes and varying product types.
Mm-hmm.
And it had next to no integration with other enterprise systems, such as their existing MES and ERP systems. So they came to us and they were looking for six main items for their future system. They wanted a solution that was both platform and device agnostic and readily available and reachable. The second item was they wanted robust scheduling algorithms, so updating their old algorithm, which was inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they wanted to open up their scheduling window, and I'll talk to that a little more. Uh, Higher visibility of their machine scheduling. They want to look at automating that data ingestion. And as a stretch goal, they wanted to look at actually automating some of the machine control based on the schedule. So Sandalwood put together a system using Ignition. We developed a modern web-based scheduling solution using Ignition that transformed that manufacturing production planning process. The solution was able to ingest data directly from outputs of the MES and ERP system. As requested, we updated their scheduling algorithm and actually abstracted it from the actual fixed inputs, which were required using Excel. This allowed for the ability for the system to easily scale. So now they can add new products on the fly, as well as production lines as required in machinery.
Mm-hmm.
And the big one was, the real-time reporting, which was based on current and future runs. So coming off that, some of the key results and benefits from the solution, they improved their scheduling efficiency and reducing manual data entry errors. The customer could finally create a schedule of their lines to cover the requirements for the full horizon of their fill lines production schedule. The new system also introduced long-term scheduling, which expanded that window from 8 to 12 hours to weeks, potentially, depending on their inputs. Uh, they got real-time visibility into their batch production schedules, and that helped ensure compliance with some pharmaceutical regulations. The system now displays metrics for each machine's schedule and its ability to meet that fill line requirement. These detailed reports have empowered decision making and are used by dozens of people across their 24/7 operation. Excuse me. From the system too, they get better resource utilization, optimizing machines and labor scheduling for increased output, and they've reduced their downtime and improved production planning. So this helps ensure a smoother operation. And again, being pharmaceutical, this helps meet those regulatory requirements. So that's the system we put in. Um, as I noted in our previous one, in our previous webinar, the final step is that continuous improvement and next steps. So we're currently working with the customer to address some minor improvements to the interface. And with phase one complete, we're looking to fully automate that data ingestion from their ERP and MES system via API calls, which is native to Ignition. That stretch goal of investigating the automatic machine control. We're looking into it, but pharma is highly regulated, and there are some regulatory steps that we need to take in order to allow this to happen. Looking at this use case, it demonstrates how Ignition sort of replaced an outdated legacy application with a scalable and real-time system that's integrated. And we did it with the 5 steps that I outlined in our previous webinar. We understood the current state and pain points. We identified where they ultimately wanted to end up. We created a phased approach and garnered that first crucial win. We went through and executed that plan, and now we've created a feedback loop for the application while working on next steps. It's just a real brief outline of that case study. So, oh boy, Tim, I can't hear you.
Thank you. I had muted when I was coughing earlier.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, thank you. So I don't know how many customers I've gone into that have Excel-based scheduling systems, and a lot of them will have different Excel sheets that they do scheduling by in each department and so forth. And you end up with a lot of miscommunication and discoordination between the different groups.
Yeah, and that we talked about that in the last one, right? The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, and using, when you go through Modernize, you can use that. It's a conductor, right? It orchestrates all that into one cohesive unit, so you can understand what's happening in the different departments and potentially how they would impact your scheduling or your production runs.
Yep. Yeah, and just being able to get everybody on that same page and being able to have a common infrastructure across the different groups can make a big difference in terms of the productivity of the plant.
Right, and the uptime. You don't
And
have
the
to worry.
uptime.
Is
Yep.
the server running? Is that shared drive available? Did someone log in with the wrong credentials? Those sorts of things that can lock things up.
Well, and with these scheduling apps, you get the different departments, all scheduling in their own way. And now, the downstream group, according to their schedule, is going to have these parts ready and they're going to start working on this production. But the other team scheduled it differently in their Excel spreadsheet, and the parts don't show up. And now they're down because they don't have what they need to build.
Right, and things change. We live in manufacturing by design. It's dynamic, so things can change on the fly. And in today's economies, you have to be able to adapt quickly.
Right. So looking at this kind of thing, then let's talk a little bit about the ROI and the business benefits of modernizing these different systems. What about the financial impact? What have you seen from some of the projects that you've done?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk to dollars and cents. because at the end of the day, every business decision needs to be make financial sense. So one of the most immediate benefits you'll see when modernizing your operation is cost savings from eliminating those inefficient, outdated systems. Just think about it. How many workarounds has your team created to deal with these legacy systems?
Mhm.
How much time's been spent manually transferring data, as we discussed, between one system that doesn't communicate with the other system? Um, these inefficiencies translate directly to unnecessary costs.
Yeah.
So many manufacturing organizations discover significant time savings when they eliminate just the manual data reconciliation between production systems and their ERP.
Yep.
This translates to staff hours that can be redirected to more strategic work. It starts to remove that non-value add work that seems inherent in these legacy systems. And beyond the operational efficiencies, there's also a substantial savings in the IT maintenance and licensing costs. Legacy systems often require specialized knowledge to maintain, and finding those resources is becoming increasingly expensive as those skill sets become rarer and rarer. Modern integrated systems typically have a streamlined maintenance requirement and have more predictable licensing models. And let's not forget that silent profit killer, downtime. Um,
Right.
I mean, outdated systems are more prone to failures and usually take longer to restore.
Yep.
Unplanned downtime events can significantly impact production, and that does depend on the size of your operation. So, modern systems with appropriate redundancies and monitoring dramatically reduce these incidents, directly improving the bottom line and boosting productivity across the board.
Yeah. So, kind of summarizing there, then there are direct costs that are associated with the licensing and the maintenance of these old systems, and sometimes by putting in that modern infrastructure, you're eliminating multiple old systems that you have multiple old licenses for and so forth. And you get one platform like Ignition that can do multiple different things, and you can consolidate that into a single application and reduce your maintenance costs, reduce your licensing fees, and so forth.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. We are we're currently working with a large uh, tier three automotive supplier, and they are running on NT, but I'm not going to get into that. They're still running on Windows XP, which opens them up to all those attack vectors on the cybersecurity side and whatnot.
Right.
It's time. It's time. We can't do this anymore.
Yep. And then on so that's the direct cost, and then the indirect benefits, reductions in downtime, leading to improvements in output, looking at potential labor savings and so forth, looking at potential increases in quality depending on the nature of the applications that are being replaced. There's a lot of potential savings from this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just efficiencies. You don't have to worry about older models of working.
Yep.
There's a reason why there's progress. We're not, we don't stand still, right? We always want to move forward. We always want to be more efficient.
Yep. Speaking of efficiency, what types of efficiency gains have you seen from putting these systems in place?
Sure. You know, when we go through modernization, it, it's about working, smarter, not harder. I'm sure you've heard that saying before. One of the most significant advantages is faster and more accurate decision making. With real-time data at your fingertips, you can identify trends and anticipate issues and make informed decisions quickly.
Right.
This eliminates delays and inaccuracy with associated, outdated and siloed data. It helps improve collaboration between your production floor, your engineering, and management teams. That's just it's an automatic key benefit. And modern systems provide a centralized platform for information sharing, which by default fosters better communication and teamwork. They eliminate the information silos and they ensure everyone's working off that same uh, that same data, that same source of truth, one
Right.
source of truth, which is
Yep.
extremely important. Um, and just simply modernization reduces manual work and improves data accuracy. It helps, automating repetitive tasks to free up your workforce to focus on more strategic initiatives. This sort of work not only increases productivity, but it also minimizes the risk of human error, and
Mhm.
it leads to more reliable and consistent data.
Okay. You talked about some of the scale of the customers that you've worked with. Can you talk a little bit about the scalability of these systems compared to some of those legacy applications?
Sure. I mean, in today's dynamic market, your systems need to be adaptable and scalable. Modernization ensures your systems can adapt to future business needs and emerging technologies such as Industry 4.0 initiatives.
Right.
This allows you to stay ahead of the curve and capitalize on new opportunities. Moreover, these modern systems enable truly seamless expansion into multiple plants and organizations without infrastructure limits. So whether you're trying to grow domestically or internationally, your systems are designed to scale to meet those needs.
Mhm.
Uh, and today's manufacturing outfits need this flexibility. It's essential for long-term growth and success. So by investing in that modern infrastructure and modernization, you're not just solving the problems that you have today, but you're positioning your organization to thrive in the future.
Right. Um, One of the things that you touched on a little bit earlier, I'd like to dig a little bit more deeply into, and that's cybersecurity. You mentioned, some of these older systems and multiple older systems that can be replaced by a modern infrastructure and so forth. You're eliminating a lot of the attack vectors into the plant systems. Can you expand a little bit more on what you were talking about there?
Sure. I mean, by its nature, these systems are modern and they adhere to those to the new security features that are out there. And a platform like Ignition, which is constantly upgrading and innovating, that's a core tenet of theirs to make sure those cybersecurity requirements are met. Um, just by itself, modernization significantly strengthens your cybersecurity posture through centralized data management and modern security practices. Those legacy systems were often designed before cybersecurity was a major concern. And bolt-on security measures are rarely as effective as security built right into that core architecture. So as manufacturing increasingly becomes targeted by cybersecurity, this isn't just an IT issue.
Right.
It's a business continuity issue that directly affects the bottom line and your reputation. Excuse me. But beyond security, modernized systems make compliance with industry standards far more manageable. Whether you're dealing with ISO requirements, FDA regulation, automotive industry standards, or other regulatory frameworks, modern systems can be configured to automatically enforce compliance requirements and generate the documentation needed for audits. And that's huge. I mean, the ability to audit and traceability has just become a powerful tool for continuous improvement.
Hmm.
Um, when you can easily track every aspect of your operation, you can identify patterns and opportunities that would otherwise remain hidden. Quality compliance managers, frequently report that these modern systems transform the audit preparation from something that's labor intensive to a more streamlined activity that leverages data that's, you know, already connected systematically through the systems you put in. And again, with the modern systems being centralized and protected by the newer technologies, it just makes everything safer.
Yeah. So over the course of these uh, two webinars now, we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about some of the problems with legacy applications in terms of the disconnectedness, information silos that they create, some of the operational inefficiencies that they can lead to. We've talked about Ignition as a solution platform that can modernize pretty much any of these different things because of the flexibility of the platform. We've talked about the project approach and the 5 steps that you take with assess current state, define the future state and requirements, develop the migration strategy, implementation and integration, and then deployment and continuous improvement of the solution that you've put in place. And then we've looked at a use case where you really transformed a spreadsheet, planning system that a customer had, and we've talked about the ROI. We've covered a ton of ground over these couple of webinars. I don't see any questions in the chat, but are there any closing thoughts that you'd like to share?
Do it sooner than later.
Yeah.
It's coming, right? If it's already come, it behooves everybody to go through and make that actual assessment. What is right for your manufacturing? Those ROI calculations are unique for each customer,
Mhm.
but you can no longer uh, ignore the need to modernize your systems. Um, I don't know the actual numbers, but something like the Windows 10 is coming to an end. I believe it's October 17th, and it's either you upgrade all your hardware, the non-supporting hardware, or you've got to put something in place um, that can do the work of the systems that are running on that OS, for example. A platform like Ignition, which is again device agnostic, and its uptime really depends on the infrastructure that you have in place, is something that negates some of those worries.
Yeah.
And we like it because we've got customers in various areas where I need everything on-prem, or it's got to be, we have our own private cloud from the mothership, or some like it on like to run their system on the cloud. Ignition works at all those levels, right?
Right.
There's cloud versions. There's an edge version that strips out some of the um, uh, database requirements of it. Containerized version, so you can run it in a Kubernetes or a Docker environment, depending on how you're moving your modern infrastructure. They really do allow for multiple vectors to go through that modernization plan.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me here today. And once again, I'll close with saying what a pleasure it is to work with Frank and Sandalwood on a variety of different projects that we've done together over the years, and just great people, great work. With that, we'll sign off and join again maybe in a couple weeks and talk a little bit more.
All right. Thanks. Always a pleasure, Tim. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.